So let us continue with the member functions of the class. Now the question is, why do we need member functions, and what is the actual basically called as a requirement behind using different kind of member functions within the class? The first member function is constructor, second is destructor, the third is mutators or setters, and fourth is inspectors or getters, and fifth one is facilitators. I'll give you the introduction about why it is a requirement of using behind constructor, destructor, and so on. And then we will write one single program in which we will cover all the member functions within the class. So let us continue. Let us say, for example, I have created one class complex. Okay. And inside this class complex, I have something called as integer real value. And let us say I have imaginary value. Maybe this class complex is having one accept function, and maybe it is having some display function. Now, if I say I will create a complex C1, assuming this is privately declared, so the data type is having as they are having the private, accessibility, and public as the next access specifiers for the member functions. Now, when I'm creating complex C1, there will be one object. Inside this object, I will get the space for real and imaginary. Considering the first scenario, if I give a call to complex C1.accept, and if I give a call to C1.display, it is going to, let us say, have maybe first value and maybe second value, and so on. Now, suppose I'm creating one more class complex. I'm sorry, one more object called as complex C2. 100%, it will also have the data field integer and real and imaginary. Now, what is my requirement? I want to assign, please listen carefully. I wish to assign some default values to real and imaginary. What I want to assign some default values to the real and imaginary. Can I write C2.real is equal to maybe 50 and C2.imaginary maybe 60? Can I write like this? अगर मुझे by default values assign करनी है तो can I write this way? 100% no. What is the reason behind it? The reason behind that is basically they are declared as private. But my requirement I have to fulfill. If I say I want to assign some default values to the real and imaginary, I will write something called as constructor. What does the constructor will do? Whenever I create an object, constructor is used to initialize the data members with some default values. अब समझ में आया what is constructor, need of constructor? If I say I wish to assign accept and display से क्या हो रहा था? Accept and display function से मैं मेरे data को accept तो कर पा रही थी user से, but there is a scenario when I wish to assign some default values to my variables which are or data members inside the class. So I have only one option, that whenever I will create an object, automatically उसको 50 and 60 value मिलना चाहिए. That is called as assigning of default values to the data members. That is called as constructor. Did you get the meaning of constructor? What is constructor? It is a function only but it is used to assign some values as a default values to the object data members. Now, when I say memory is being allocated, parameters has been allocated, with respect to constructor, we have something called as destructor. Similar to the constructor is used to initialize the object. Destructor will try to deallocate the memory which is allocated by data members. प्रोग्राम में कैसे लिखते हैं वो मैं बाद में बताऊंगी, बट आपको इतना समझ में आया कंस्ट्रक्टर एंड डिस्ट्रक्टर क्या है? Everyone. All right. Let me take the next scenario now. Suppose I'm creating one more object, which is the object complex, and I'm saying C3. Obviously, this C3 will have integer and real and imaginary. अब कंस्ट्रक्टर से क्या होता है? मेरे दोनों डेटा मेंबर्स को मैं वैल्यू असाइन करती हूँ. But what is my requirement now? I want to set real value is equal to, let us say, 35. Means if I wish to individually set this real value is equal to 35 through my program, in that case, I will use setters. What is setter? Setter will help me to write or to assign individual data member some value. क्योंकि इन फंक्शन लिखूंगे, कंस्ट्रक्टर लिखूंगी, दोनों भी इनिशियलाइज हो जाएंगे. एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन, डिस्प्ले फंक्शन लिखूंगी, दोनों भी मुझे दोनों भी डेटा मेंबर्स को मैं असाइन कर सकती हूँ. But if I wish to set some specific value, for example, if you consider real-time applications, suppose आपका ईमेल है एंड आप पासवर्ड डालते हो, फिर आप ईमेल एंड पासवर्ड को सबमिट करते हो, राइट? बट सपोज आप फॉरगॉट पासवर्ड पे क्लिक करते हो तो आपका पासवर्ड आप सेट कर सकते हो. डू यू ऑल अग्री? व्हेन यू क्लिक ऑन फॉरगेट पासवर्ड एंड यू विल बी एबल टू सी सेट द पासवर्ड फील्ड, राइट? इट मीन्स specific field को set करना है, then I will go for which concept called as setter. Okay, ये सारे functions ही है, but we have a naming conventions for them. Okay, have you understood what is the meaning of setter? Setter is used to modify the state of the object. The reason is initially आपका email है, let us say akshita@gmail.com. You have a password akshita123. Assume. In that case, suppose I'm saying I forgot my password and let us say I'm giving again Akshita321. That is, I'm setting a new password for particular this field. That means I'm modifying the state. That's why your setters are also called as mutators. Another name for setter. Okay. Now, suppose I am creating one more object. Okay, I'm saying complex C4. Obviously, it will have real, it will have imaginary. Suppose user have assigned real value as 70, imaginary value as 65. If I say void display, अगर मुझे display function सारी values display नहीं करना है, real and imaginary, I wish to fetch individual element. Means if I'm saying please give me C4.real, can I access C4.real directly? Obviously no. The reason is C4.real is a private data member, right? तो इससे better मैं क्या लिखूंगी? Please get the real value as a function name. So will it give me an individual element record as a real value? Yes. Sometimes in the application we wish to fetch an individual element and usko hum bolte hain getter. Getters are basically used to fetch the individual element which is there inside your function. If I want to check what is the value of real part of C4 object, then we can go for it. Have you understood what is setter, getter, constructor, destructor? I'm saying I wish to perform a display of all the data members. So whatever other functions, I'll take the next scenario. Suppose I am saying maybe I want to write a display function. I'll write void display. This is giving me a facility to display the data. That is why the other functions other than constructor, destructor, setters and getters, other than whatever functions are there, उनको हम बोलते हैं facilitators. They are the user defined functions which gives us the basic other functionality which I want to implement in my program. Maybe you want to find average, maybe you want to find display, maybe you want to perform addition, maybe subtraction, maybe printing of data, maybe averaging, maybe total, maybe any other function other than constructor, destructor, setter and getter. All these are called as facilitators. Okay, destructor is used to deallocate the memory. अक्षय, जब मैं आपको अभी थोड़ी देर में प्रोग्राम बताऊंगी तो आपको और क्लियरली समझ में आएगा. Okay, Hardik, facilitators are the functions only. They gives me the facility to write some additional details in the program. Okay, so for example, display is my, you can say, one function which is used to display the data. Okay, another I'm saying I want to find average. So that is one additional functionality that I'm providing. That is facilitators. Yes, Tushar, setters and getters are risky. It means yes. The reason is you are trying to set and get the individual element of that particular object. You're modifying the state of the object. You're fetching the state of the object. That is called as this privacy issue. Absolutely correct. But in some of the scenario, you need to modify. जैसे मैंने आपको password का example दिया. Okay. Payal, destructor is used to destroy the memory allocated by the object. C2 object में मैंने constructor लिखा है. It's always a good practice to write a destructor. Have you understood the basic meaning of constructor, destructor? All right. Now, let us take one example in which we will see all the particular, you can say, functions. Constructor, destructor, you can say setter, getter, and finally the facilitators, so that it will be easy for you to understand the complete program in one shot. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, now let us go ahead to write the program. I'll say IOStream using namespace std. I'll say main. I'll write the main part at the end because first I need to create the class. I request everyone, please concentrate the syntax part and what do you mean by these functions. I'm creating a class complex. This is called as scope of class. I have declared two data fields. One is real, another is imaginary. Now, yes, Hardik, I will guide you. Hold on, there are different types of constructor. I will tell you. I'll say public declaration. पहले मैं constructor लिखती हूँ. Then I will write destructor. Then I will write getters. Then I will write setters. And finally, if I wish, facilitators. Okay, we will write all these functions. They all are called as member function of the class. इसलिए मैंने उन सबको क्लास के अंदर पहले डिक्लेयर कर देती हूँ. We'll go step by step. The constructor is called as special member function of the class. Member function बोलती हूँ. So it is having the same name as the class name. Can you please tell me what is the class name? Complex. So I'll write complex. Function है opening and closing bracket and cross. This is called as a parameter less constructor. कैसे पता चला it is a constructor? It is a special member function inside the class which is having the same name as the class name. This is called as constructor. Have I passed any arguments within it? No. Then it is called as parameter less constructor. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? It is not having any return type. That is the rule. मेरे compiler को इसी से समझ में आएगा. This is the constructor. Because it is having the same name as the class name, it is not having any argument. That's why it is called as parameter less constructor. Suppose I'm writing again complex and I'm saying integer real, integer imaginary. Can I say this is also one constructor? Yes, this is also one constructor, but it is taking two arguments. That is why it is called as parameterized constructor. In this scenario, how did I come to know it is a constructor? Because it is having the same name as the class name and it is not having any return type. Have you understood the meaning of constructor? Can you see it's having the same as function declaration? ये मेरे function declaration सी है, right? I'm just declaring it. Can I define it outside the class? Yes, you can. I will take this function declaration. I will write the definition part. Ab, is it a function definition outside the class? Which operator I should go for? Scope resolution. How will we use scope resolution? I write the function name. I give the scope resolution. कौन से क्लास का फंक्शन है? कॉम्प्लेक्स क्लास का फंक्शन है. क्या इस फंक्शन को रिटर्न टाइप है? नहीं है. तो दैट्स इट. नहीं है. वॉइड लिखा है क्या मैंने? अथर्व एंड हार्दिक नहीं लिखा है तो वॉइड नहीं लिखूंगी. समझ में आया? Everyone, absolutely correct. So I'll say real is equal to maybe मुझे एक को वैल्यू 100 असाइन करनी है, इमेजिनरी को 200 असाइन करनी है. कैन आई से हम कंस्ट्रक्टर कॉलिंग बाद में देखेंगे, पहले मुझे डिक्लेयर करने दो हनीराज. होल्ड ऑन. आई से हियर इनसाइड पैरामीटर लेस कंस्ट्रक्टर. क्या मैंने नॉर्मली जैसे फंक्शन डिफाइन करते हैं वैसे ही डिफाइन किया है क्या? Everyone? Yes, because it's a member function. So I've defined real value is 100, imaginary value is equal to 200. Did you all get the constructor definition? Let us go ahead with the next constructor definition part. Now I will say, I'll copy this. This is the constructor belonging to the class complex is not having any return type. I'll just write inside parameterized constructor. Okay, I will say this arrow real is equal to real. This arrow imaginary is equal to imaginary. समझ में आया? Everyone. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just write a destructor now. So in this program, I have declared two types of constructor. One is parameterless, another is parameterized. इन दोनों के साथ हमें एक और कॉम्बिनेशन आता है कॉपी, दैट आई विल एक्सप्लेन टुमारो. लेट अस राइट डिस्ट्रक्टर. Destructor is also special member function of the class where it is also having the same name as the class name, provided it is preceded with the tilde sign. With a tilde sign. I'll write C out. मैं यहाँ पे डिफाइन कर सकती हूँ, आपके ऊपर है, आपको स्कोप रेजोल्यूशन के साथ बाहर डिफाइन करना है, you can. I'll say inside destructor and semicolon. So destructor के कोई भी types नहीं है. Destructor is used to deallocate the memory allocated by the object. All right. I will write one facilitator where I'll say a display function. Is it just the declaration? Yes. I will define it. How I will define? I am defining display outside the class. Follow the syntax. Yes, Rishi, I will explain the flow very soon. Just understand the syntax part first. I'm just writing display function. And we are trying to display real and imaginary. I'll say NL. All right. So did you all get? I have a class complex which is having real and imaginary, which is having two constructor, which is having one destructor, which is having one facilitators. We have defined the parameter less constructor. We have defined parameterized constructor, and we have written a display function. Any queries so far? Okay, seems there are no queries. I will create an object of the class. The reason is I wish to give a call to display. How do I create a complex C1? This is how I create an object. Can I say C1 is object of class complex? All right. I'm saying please display the values inside C1. Okay. Whenever I'm writing C1.display, or whenever I am giving a call to creating the object, at that moment, here, can you observe while creating the object? क्या मैंने यहाँ पे ब्रैकेट्स दिए हैं क्या? क्या मैंने ब्रैकेट्स दिए हैं? नहीं. That means I am not passing any arguments along with the object. True. Whenever I am creating the object, if I have not passed any argument along with it, in that case, parameterless constructor will be called. And this parameterless constructor will assign real को 100, imaginary को 200. कौन से ऑब्जेक्ट के रियल एंड इमेजिनरी को 100 एंड 200 देना है? C1 ऑब्जेक्ट के, बिकॉज मैंने C1 लिखा है. Then when I say C1.display, can I say it should give me 100 and 200 as the output? All right, let us check. ./a.exe. Let us observe the output correctly. When I have created the object C1, it will give a call to parameterless constructor. Is it going inside this and giving me this as the first statement? इसलिए मैंने sentence लिखा था. It have allocated real and imaginary value, that is 100 and 200, to my current object C1. It will come back c1.display. It will say I am in display function and 100 and 200 value it have displayed. It will come back. It will observe C1 object का reference चला गया. It will call the destructor automatically. And can you see it is giving me inside destructor? Yes. And it means what? The number of objects you create, once the object scope is over, it gives a call to destructor automatically. Second important point, did I explicitly call to the constructor? मैंने ऐसे लिखा क्या c1 डॉट कॉम्प्लेक्स ऐसा करके फंक्शन को हम नॉर्मली ऐसे कॉल करते हैं ना c1 डॉट डिस्प्ले. क्या मैंने c1 डॉट कॉम्प्लेक्स कंस्ट्रक्टर को कॉल किया? क्या नहीं कॉल किया. सो व्हाट आई कैन कंक्लूड इज कंस्ट्रक्टर gets called automatically when you create instance of the class, instance or object of the class. That's why जब मैं किसी भी फंक्शन को और जब कोई फंक्शन ऑटोमेटिक कॉल होता है उसको बोलते हैं implicit call. That is called as implicit call. Can I say here display function is called upon C1 object and I'm explicitly writing it. तो इसको मैं बोलूंगी explicit call. समझ में आया? What is implicit and explicit? If your function is getting called automatically, it is implicit. But if I'm giving a function call with the help of object name, then that is called as explicit call. क्या मैंने मेरे कंस्ट्रक्टर को कॉल किया था? नहीं किया था. जैसे ही C1 ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया, it have gone into this and it is giving parameterless constructor. Have you understood? Everyone. यहां तक समझ में आया? Yes. Now, suppose I'm writing complex C2 and I'm passing 800 and 600 values. Can I say C2 is object of class complex? All right. Now, can you observe, have I passed 2 arguments along with the object name? Yes. अगर ऐसे है तो कौन सा कंस्ट्रक्टर कॉल होना चाहिए? Obviously parameterized constructor call होना चाहिए, where 800 value will go into current object real value, 600 value will go into current object imaginary value. Which is my current object? C2 is my current object. So if I write C2 dot display, let us observe, is it giving me the same parameterized constructor के contents? Let us check. First, I'm saying, I'll clear the screen one more time. First, it is saying inside parameter less constructor because C1 object के लिए. It will go inside parameter less constructor 100 and 200. It is displaying me those values. Once it is done, next object is created. Second object created, second time constructor will be called. But this time parameterized constructor will be called because while creating the object, I have passed 2 parameters within it. That's why parameterized constructor is called. When I say display, is it displaying me 800 and 600? Yes, because C2 object के अंदर values मैंने assign किया है 800 and 600. Am I assigning the default values to the private data members of the class without giving a call to the functions? Yes, they are automatically called. Next, for this program, how many objects I have created? One is C1, another is C2. Can you see destructor is called 2 times? So once the program comes out of the scope, automatically the destructor will be called. Destructor will deallocate the memory which is being used by your object. अब समझ में आया destructor का need? Everyone, have you understood the flow of the program? Constructor is called automatically. All right. So you all have understood what is constructor, what is instructor, and what is facilitators, right? Let us write getter. अब मुझे क्या करना है? Getter will give me, it will return me current object की real value, individual value. अक्षय C1 एंड C2 ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया. जैसे ही मैं C1 एंड C2 ऑब्जेक्ट के बाहर आती हूँ, 69 पे आती हूँ, मतलब मेरा स्कोप हो गया, खत्म हो गया ऑब्जेक्ट का. तो जैसे ही ऑब्जेक्ट स्कोप इज आउट ऑफ इट्स रिक्वायरमेंट, देन इट गिव्स अ कॉल टू डिस्ट्रक्टर. Destructor is used to deallocate the memory allocated by your constructor. So C1 C2 दो ऑब्जेक्ट्स बनाए थे, तो इसलिए मेरा इनसाइड डिस्ट्रक्टर दो बार कॉल हुआ. Is it okay? Okay. Now I'm writing getters. Getter क्या करना चाहिए? It should return me individual real value. Next getter क्या करना चाहिए? Current object की imaginary value देना चाहिए. I'll write the definition. I'll say get real. This is how you follow the conventions. I'll say get imaginary. This is the function. Is it returning one integer value? Yes, I'm writing integer. Is it returning integer value? Yes, I'm writing integer. So can I say this will give me individual element value called as get real. This will give me individual value called as imaginary of the current object. Since it is returning one integer value, so I've written a return type as integer. Since this is also returning one integer value, so I've written integer as a return type. Did you all get the individual methods to fetch the current object state? Yes or no? Everyone. Good. Now, let us say I am putting this into comments. I'm creating complex C3 and I'm saying I'm assigning 850 and let us say 450. Can you please tell me कौन सा constructor call होगा? Which constructor will be called? Parameterized constructor will be called. अब मुझे वैल्यू डिस्प्ले नहीं करनी है, मुझे इंडिविजुअल वैल्यू, मुझे ये जानना है कि C3 ऑब्जेक्ट की रियल वैल्यू क्या है, इमेजिनरी वैल्यू क्या है. So I will just write C3 dot get real. Will it give me the current object real value? Will it print me 850 as the output? Yes, real value is this. Similarly, if I say मुझे imaginary value fetch करनी है, /n, imaginary value of C3, I will write get imaginary. Let us compile it. It's not a keyword to share. Normally, it's a programming practice. When you wish to go for writing getters, you use a word get and you use that actual variable name. मेरे variable का नाम क्या था? Real. तो बीच में R capital लिखा. Can you see it is giving me real value is 850, imaginary value is 450. मैंने डिस्प्ले नहीं यूज किया, मैंने इंडिविजुअल एलिमेंट की डेटा फेच किया. Is it okay? Have you understood? Everyone. एक ही ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया, एक ही बार कंस्ट्रक्टर कॉल हुआ. Okay. Now I will write setter. Let us understand setter. Setter क्या करना चाहिए? जो भी यूजर रियल की वैल्यू दे रहा है, put it into current object real value. Get setter दूसरा क्या setter करना चाहिए? Whatever user is giving me imaginary value, put that value into current object value. So I will write void set real. Inside the bracket, I'll pass integer real. Void set imaginary. Inside the point, I'll write imaginary. Have you understood these two functions? Everyone. All right. If yes, now let us understand. Can you say यहाँ पे I have given 850 and 450? अब मैं क्या करती हूँ? C3 dot set real value. I want now this value as 200. Okay. And again, one more time, I'm displaying real value and imaginary value. Can you see? For C3 object, it is giving a call to parameterized constructor. It is giving me initial real value as 850, initial imaginary value as 450. I have modified the state of the third object की real value as 200. Can you see? After that, I'm getting real value as 200 and imaginary value is remaining unchanged since I'm coming out of the scope and I'm getting inside the structure. Is it okay? So have I modified the individual state of the object? Yes. तो suppose अगर मेरा कोई दूसरा टीम मेंबर डेवलपर रहेगा और उसको पता है yes there are private data members real and imaginary and okay that person have written to constructor, one destructor is already written, there are some getters to fetch the values, there are some setters to set some values, there are some facilitators. तो प्रोग्राम देख के ही हमें समझ में आता है क्या कि क्या लिखा है प्रोग्राम में? मुझे यहाँ पे कमेंट्स लिखने की जरूरत पड़ेगी क्या? नहीं पड़ेगी. So is it easy for others to understand? Yes. Okay. Haniraj, facilitator means any facility. Suppose अब मैं एक accept function भी लिखती हूँ. Am I writing some additional functionality in my program? Yes. So write it. Accept function. Am I defining outside the class? I am defining it. So I can ask from user, enter real value. This is the additional feature. And I'm saying C, additional functionality, C and real. Again, C out, enter imaginary value. This is like I'm taking input from the user, individual for both the elements. I'm writing imaginary. So accept kiya and display kiya. Let me just compile, or let us first create a C4 object, any other function. तो भी बाकी सारे functions रहते हैं हनीराज. All these are facilitators. So I'm creating complex C4 dot accept and C4 dot display. So I'll compile and check. Right? It is asking by default. It basically assigns some default values to it. So that's why it is giving me garbage parameter less constructor. Now I'm assigning my new value 50 and 20. Is it giving me display function with 50 and 20 and calling destructor? This concept is called as constructor, destructor, and you can say facilitators, and you can say getters and setters. Yes, Sanket, it can have any name. You can create a class person, then person class के कुछ attributes बनाओ, उसके functions बनाओ, and so on. I'm just taking small examples out of it. All right. So quickly go through the code, and if you have any queries, please do ask. This one example, if you have understood, it means you are trying, you have basically understood the basic meaning of classes and objects. Everyone, did you get it? डिस्ट्रक्टर, शाया मैंने मेरे प्रोग्राम में जितने ऑब्जेक्ट्स बनाए हैं उतने ऑब्जेक्ट्स के लिए हमें बेसिकली फॉर दोज नंबर ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स we get some memory space, right? And if we get some memory space, we need to deallocate that memory, and that can be deallocated using the destructor. So destructor is also a special member function which is having the same name as the class name, provided it should be preceded with a tilde sign. Suraj, it is a programming or developers, you can say developers की need रहती है कि normally अगर हम getter लिखते हैं तो आप get लिख सकते हो and that particular parameter, it is easy. It is easy for you can say understanding. All right. Okay. प्रोग्राम की रीडेबिलिटी बढ़ जाती है एंड कन्वेंशंस कुछ कुछ फॉलो करते हैं इसलिए. यस ऋषि, आई हैव अनम्यूटेड यू. आर यू देयर?
Yes, ma'am.
बोलो.
So, ma'am, when we declare a function, that time we give some default values to it. But when we declare a function,
yes, you declare a function like this.
Yeah. Above main. So that time we give some default values to it. But what if we give that values at the time of writing the definition?
See, I'm talking about default values to be given to the class members.
No, not about this, ma'am. The topic, I actually asked this question once, but you said we will discuss it later.
I'm not getting.
I'm talking about previous topic. Default values, yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Here in the declaration, we use C is equal to 300 and D is equal to 400 at the time of declaration.
Right. You do not have to give over here. It will give you syntax error.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm trying.
Yes. So it is because जब आप इसको A, B, C तीन values pass कर रहे हो, D की value आपने अगर उसको इधर assign किया तो वो call by value concept नहीं होता है, तो इसलिए वो आपको error देगा. अगर आपको कभी भी default values, if you wish to assign it to some parameter within the function, it is a rule, you must define default argument at the time of declaration only. It will automatically fetch at the time of definition. That's the rule. Otherwise, it will give you error. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from this program? If you write definition before main, that is absolutely fine, Tushar. But default arguments के लिए आपको declaration करना ही पड़ेगा. बाकी के यहाँ पे आप declaration नहीं भी करोगे तो चलता है. But declaration is a good practice, I would say. Okay. Shall we go ahead? Okay. Now, I'll take this code day2_7.cpp. I'll say maybe I'll have one class, and that class is having a function which is called as test. Okay. And inside this class, I have private data members. I'm declaring num1, num2, and num3. Right? Inside this public, I am defining one parameterized constructor which is having num1, num2, and num3. I'll assign it as this arrow num1 is equal to, let us say 10. This arrow num2 is equal to 20. And this arrow num3 is equal to 30. I hope the syntax part is clear to everyone. Any questions into this? Any questions? Okay. I'll just write a display function where I will just try to print num1 value and I'll say this current object ki num1 value. You can write always a good practice ki this current object num1, current object num2, and so on. I'll end L, maybe num2 and num3. Someone's video is on, please make it off. Num2 and num3. I'll write here num2 and num3. All right. So let us just go to mean. I'll create a test object T and I'll say T dot display. I am passing, right? I'm passing here. Actually, I should write num1. This is parameterized constructor. So I'm passing 3 values, maybe 10, 20, and 30. So 10 value will go into current object num1, 20 value will go into current object num2, and 30 value will go into current object num3. This is basically we have performed this operation. If you wish to write destructor, you can write anytime. Let us first compile and check. Am I getting num1, num2, num3 as 30? Yes. All right. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आया? Good. Now, can you observe? This is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6. To initialize 3 members, I have used 6 lines of code, right? I will write another option. I'll say, let us say, or assume, suppose मेरे पास एक parameter less constructor भी है, where parameter less constructor में I'm also assigning some values. Maybe here I'm assigning 400, 500, and 600. So this is parameter less constructor. This is parameterized constructor. If I just create the object, let us say test TOBJ, it will give TOBJ.display. It will go to the parameter less constructor and it will try to print 400, 500, and 600. Right? So let us compile this code and check. It's giving me 400, 500, and 600 because in this scenario, parameter less constructor have been given a call. Again, I have written here 5 lines of code. Right? I'll put this into comment. Instead of writing this 5 lines of code, I will write only 1 line of code. How? I'll say test, I'll say colon, I'll say num1 को value assign करो 400, num2 को value assign करो 500, and num3 को value assign करो 600. Give the opening brackets and closing brackets. Is my line of code has been reduced? Okay. Akshay, how the output is 400, 500, 600? Because मैंने T object बनाया, I have not passed any arguments along with it. So 100% it is going to give a call to parameter less constructor, and due to which my num1, num2 value will get assigned as 400, 500, 600. When I have given a call to display function, it is giving me 400, 500, and 600. But what I want to explain over here is, instead of writing 5 lines of code, I am trying to write the same line of code into 1 line to reduce line of codes. So I can directly write test colon. Can I say this is parameter less constructor? Of course, yes, this is parameter. कैसे पता चला constructor है? Its name is same as the class name. It's not passing or it is not taking any argument. So it is parameter less constructor. I have given num1 value as 400, num2 as 500, num3 as 600, and I'm giving opening and closing brackets. Right? Let us say, to avoid a confusion, I am giving, let us say, 450, 550, and 650. I'll save this, right? And I will compile it one more time. Somewhere I've written num1, num2, and num3. I've written num2 twice. Let's compile this code and check. Is it giving me these values? Right. This is the shortcut that you can go for whenever you want to reduce line of code. This shortcut is called as constructor member initializer list. This is called as constructor member initializer list. Means I am assigning some initial values using the constructor only, but it is a shortcut for that. It will reduce the line of code, and that is called as constructor member initializer list. समझ में आया? Everyone, did you get it up to this point? All right. Any questions so far? No. Now, why I need a constructor initializer list? It is because, let me go ahead with one last topic, you can say constant. Suppose I'm writing a class test or class demo. Inside this class demo, I have a private data member integer num, right? And I have declared const int c. Can I say this is non-constant variable? And can I say this is constant variable? Right. Can you please tell me, in this public section, I have written something like this. What exactly is this? Line number 11, ये मैंने क्या define किया है? Constructor. कौन से type का constructor define किया है? Is it parameterless or parameterized? It is parameterless constructor. Now, can I write this arrow num is equal to 40? I can assign 40 value to this num. Yes or no? Yes. But when you want to initialize constant variables, in that case, I will assign constant variables using constructor member initializer list. This is the rule. That's why you have constructor member initializer list. It means if you wish to assign some constant value which remains fixed throughout the program, then constant values of the class should be defined within the constructor member initializer list. अगर आप इसको c is equal to 60 लिखते हो, that is not allowed, because we cannot assign the variable we cannot assign values at the time of declaration. I have to first just declare the variables. So if we want to, I'll write a comment. If we wish to initialize constant members, then we have to use member initializer list. All right, so this will take it and this will just try to perform your operation. Let us say I'm writing main. Let us try to write a display function too. Void display. I'm trying to display cout num value, num, and maybe constant value, which is c. So I'll create an object which is demo d dot display. Return 0. Compile this code and check. Can you see I'm getting it? So this is called as the concept of constant data member. So if you're writing a constant data member, it's compulsory to initialize those members using the constructor member initializer list. This is the rule. समझ में आया? Everyone? Any questions so far? So in today's class, we have seen the concept of functions in detail. We have seen class, object, and member functions within the class. I request everyone, please ensure you please revise whatever I have taught you today itself. Because if you do not revise, तो आपको next lecture में थोड़ा difficult जाएगा. Because by next lecture, I want all of you to be very comfortable in declaring the class, creating the object, writing the constructor, writing the destructor, and so on, so that it will be easy for me to get you comfortable with other topics. All right. So with this, we can stop for the day and I'll stop the recording. Thank you. If you have any queries,